بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على نبينا وحبيبنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين اللهم اجعلنا ممن يستمعون القول فيتبعون أحسنه وبعد. The name I will be talking about today is Ismullah al-Haleem. Ismullah al-Haleem, the patient or the most patient. It comes in the Quran 11 times. Ismullah al-Haleem is in the Quran 11 times. 6 of those times is with Ismullah al-Ghafur, and 3 with Ismullah al-Alim, and then once with al-Ghani and once with al-Shakur. And the reason it comes with al-Ghafur, the most forgiving, or the granter of forgiveness, is because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala many times in the Quran wants to forgive and wants to remind us as well that He's patient and He will give us time before punishment, which is the meaning of Ismullah al-Haleem. هو الذي لا يستعجل العقوبة على عباده ويمهلهم حتى يصلحهم. So what Ismullah al-Haleem means is the one who is not in a hurry to punish his servants when they make a mistake, even though they are deserving of punishment. And He gives them time to rectify their mistakes. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses His name with al-Haleem with al-Ghafur, it's to balance the both ideas. That He is forgiving and He will also give you time if you make a mistake, and He will not punish immediately. It comes with Ismullah al-Alim 3 times because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all-knowing and He is the omniscient. If He knows all, the question that comes to mind, well, if He knows everything that I'm doing, I wonder why I haven't been punished till this moment yet. Because I know what I'm doing, others don't, but I know the amount of mistakes I make on a daily basis and for how long it's been going on. So He tells you, I know all, but I'm also al-Haleem. I'm very patient and I will wait. It comes with Ismullah al-Ghani as well. Ghani means the one who is not in need of anybody. And if you're not in need of people, or if you're not in need of others, then it's easy for you to go against them. It's easy for you to mistreat them, so the name comes with it. He is not in need, however, He is very patient, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it comes with Ismullah al-Shakur, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not only is He extremely patient, but He also will give for a small amount of deeds that we do a lot of reward. The name of Allah is Sabur, is a name that scholars have differed upon over the ages. It's not in the Quran. There is reference to it in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. I am of the opinion that I don't think it's one of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I'll tell you why. The difference between sabr and hilm is extremely important. Sabr is perseverance. It's struggling against difficulties. When you hear the word sabr, you should imagine someone going up a mountain. And it's dark and it's rainy and it's windy. And they're persevering as they move forward. Hilm, patience, is different. It's someone who is being provoked. Someone who is getting their buttons pushed. But they're not reacting. They're not reacting emotionally, at least. For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's a bit different. Because all it means is that He is not going to punish quickly. He gives time, subhanahu wa ta'ala, to His servants when they overstep the boundaries that He drew for them, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala never perseveres. He doesn't need to persevere, Jalla Jalaluhu. So I find Ismullah al-Sabur, you can only use it if it is synonymous with Ismullah al-Haleem. It has to have the same meaning. It can't have a different meaning. And since there's no difference in the meaning, then Ismullah al-Haleem is already in the Quran, so it's better to stick to it. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. If you take a look at the Quran, you find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُمْسِكُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ أَن تَزُولَا وَلَئِن زَالَتَا إِنْ أَمْسَكَهُمَا مِنْ أَحَدٍ مِّن بَعْدِهِ إِنَّهُ كَانَ حَلِيمًا غَفُورًا. Indeed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala holds the cosmos and the earth from collapsing and falling to pieces. And if they were ever to collapse, no one could hold them but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Indeed, He is the most patient and most forgiving. You see, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could look at our world today and say, Wallahi, with all this with all this oppression and all this persecution, maybe I just let the world collapse and fall to pieces. But he doesn't, because he's the most patient, subhanahu wa ta'ala. He says, قَوْلٌ مَعْرُوفٌ وَمَغْفِرَةٌ خَيْرٌ مِّن صَدَقَةٍ يَتْبَعُهَا أَذًى وَاللَّهُ غَنِيٌّ حَلِيمٌ. Saying a nice word and showing some forgiveness towards people is better than giving charity, and after giving charity, hurting people by reminding you of that charity. There's an ayah in Surah Al-Baqarah that's very important. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala within those verses is telling us you should give charity and give from your wealth. But then he says, you know what? A nice word and some forgiveness towards people is better than giving money if after you give this charity, you remind people of it. Wallahu ghaniyyun halim. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not in need of your charity. And He is patient when you make that type of mistake. Subhanallah al-Azim. The prophets in the Quran are described by this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes 3 prophets with hilm. Inna Ibrahima la halimun awwahum munib. Or la halimun munib. Halim. Ibrahim alayhi salam, our father, was described as being very patient. He would not react emotionally when provoked. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks of his son Ismail, فَبَشَّرُوهُ بِغُلَامٍ حَلِيمٍ. And he was given the good news of a very patient boy to come, which is Ismail alayhi salam. Shu'aib alayhi salam was described by the disbelievers of his nation. They were mocking him at the time, but they meant إِنَّكَ لَأَنْتَ الْحَلِيمُ الرَّشِيدُ. You're the one who's very always patient. You're the one who knows everything. They were mocking him, but those are the 2 attributes that he actually had. Alayhi salatu wasalam. He was someone who was extremely patient. But when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to speak of hilm in general in the Quran, He didn't use that word. He used a different word. He said, وَالْكَاظِمِينَ الْغَيْظِ وَالْعَافِينَ عَنِ النَّاسِ. وَالْكَاظِمِينَ الْغَيْظِ. Those who suppress anger. Those who suppress that feeling of hatred and animosity and bigotry that sometimes fills the heart and is difficult to deal with. He says, وَلَمَنْ صَبَرَ وَغَفَرَ إِنَّ ذَلِكَ لَمِنْ عَزْمِ الْأُمُورِ. Those who persevere and forgive, that is the best of conduct. When you're put in a situation where you feel like you want to react, but you don't react. خُذِ الْعَفْوَ وَأْمُرْ بِالْعُرْفِ وَأَعْرِضْ عَنِ الْجَاهِلِينَ. Take the best from people. When you deal with people, sometimes you're going to get the good and the bad. So what the ayah is saying, take the good. Just leave the bad. Just leave it. خُذِ الْعَفْوَ. Take the best of their behavior when they're dealing with you. وَأْمُرْ بِالْعُرْفِ. And encourage people to do the good deeds from a social perspective, the deeds that are smiled upon. وَأَعْرِضْ عَنِ الْجَاهِلِينَ. And ignore those who don't seem to have much knowledge. When you listen to the Prophet ﷺ give advice, when the man came to him and said, Ya Rasulullah, أوصني فلعلي لا أراك بعد يومي هذا. Give me some advice, I may never see you again, Ya Rasulullah. فقال لا تغضب. Don't get angry. فقال أوصني يا رسول الله. I'm not going to see you again, Ya Rasulullah. How about you? Give me a few more things. I can probably memorize a bit more than that. فقال لا تغضب. Don't get angry. Don't allow your anger to overcome you. Don't submit to that emotion of rage that fills the heart sometimes. فقال أوصني يا رسول الله. No, give me more. قال لا تغضب لا تغضب لا تغضب. Just don't get angry. There is no better piece of advice you'll ever get in your life than just don't allow anger to overcome you. There was a man called Ashaj Abdul Qais. When the Wafd of Abdul Qais came, this is a known tribe, very famous tribe. Their leader, Ashaj, is a man who sat beside the Prophet ﷺ, and they spoke for a while. And the Prophet ﷺ would always treat with respect the leaders of the different tribes that came to him. So he told him in a hadith that is quite famous, قال إن فيك خصلتين يحبهما الله ورسوله الأناة والحلم. There are 2 attributes that you have, Ya Ashaj, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Prophet love very dearly. Al-ana, taking things slowly, wal-hilm, and patience. So Ashaj was very happy. He has just been They say, what a lucky person. He was just commended by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. فقال يا رسول الله أهم في جبلة أم كسبا? Are these two attributes a part of my personality, or did I work on them to become them? فقال لا بل فيك جبلة. No, they are just a part of who you are. You've always been like that. Subhanallah. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, on the way back of a battle one day, they got very tired and they wanted to rest. So alayhi salatu wasalam found a tree and lay under it and asked one of the Sahaba. Of course, they had different schedules, so the Sahaba would stand on guard. And he hung his sword and he slept, alayhi salatu wasalam. And there was supposed to be one of the Sahaba standing on guard, and that Sahabi that day, it was along, so he kind of fell asleep. And there was a man who had come behind who had followed the army in search of an opportunity to harm the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. His name was Ghawrath ibn al-Harith. So he followed the Prophet the Muslims, and he waited until the Muslims fell asleep, and he was watching the Prophet ﷺ from afar. He comes into the midst of the army. He goes to the tree the Prophet ﷺ is sleeping under. He takes the sword, and he wakes up the Prophet ﷺ, and he's carrying his sword in his hand. And he had the sword right under the chin of the Prophet ﷺ. فَقَالَ قُمْ يَا مُحَمَّدْ. Get up. So the Prophet ﷺ wakes up, finds a man with a sword on his neck. So he sits up, alayhi salatu wasalam. فَقَالَ يَا مُحَمَّدْ مَنْ يَمْنَعُكَ مِنِّي. Who can now save you from me? So the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, without breaking a sweat, قَالَ Allah. Now we don't know exactly what happened, whether he tripped and fell, whether it was the strength of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam's personality, what was it, the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that scared him. But this man fell, and he dropped the sword, and the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam picked it up and put it under this guy's neck. And he said the same words to him. فقال وأنت الآن من يمنعك مني. How about now? Who's going to save you from me? So the man began begging the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام, يا محمد أنت كريم وأنت حليم. You're very patient and you're very generous. فقال أتشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. How about you say لا إله إلا الله right now? He fixed this. فقال لا. No, I don't want to say it. He has a sword under his neck, but he won't say it. Subhanallah. فقال. So he asked him, أتمنع الناس عنا. How about you help get people to stop fighting us? فقال لا. He refused that. فقال إذا لا تقاتل لا تجمعن علينا. That you don't fight us at least. فقال أما هذه فنعم. I won't fight you again. This is the last time I'll try it. فأيقظ الصحابة صلى الله عليه وسلم. So he woke up, the Prophet ﷺ called the Sahaba to wake up, and he told this man, please tell them what just occurred. So this man explained, this is what happened, this is what I did. And the Sahaba were in awe of his patience, alayhi salatu wasalam. How he didn't execute this man after he had tried to kill him. How he didn't execute him after he asked him to say La ilaha illallah, and he said no. And he told him to help him, and he said no. He's just very patient, alayhi salatu wasalam. On the day of Uhud, when he fell into the pit that they had, Abu Amr al-Fasiq had dug behind the Muslims' place where they had their stronghold. The Muslims had to retreat, and the Prophet ﷺ retreated back to the mountain of Uhud, and he fell into the pit, ﷺ. And when he fell into the pit, the helmet, he hit his head, and the metal of the helmet got stuck into his cheeks, ﷺ, and he broke a tooth, and he was bleeding diffusely, and they had to literally pull out the metal from his cheekbones, alayhi salatu wasalam. And then they had to take a heated sword and put it on his face, alayhi salatu wasalam. There was a scar. There were 2 scars on his face, alayhi salatu wasalam, after the day of Uhud. Meaning, if you had seen his face before Uhud and after, you would have seen there's a slight difference because of those scars and the broken tooth. And the Sahaba were sitting there watching a heated sword being pushed on the face of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. It was a very hard thing for them to watch. And they saw the blood and they saw the pain. فَقَالُوا يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ أُدْعُ عَلَيْهِمْ. Make dua against the Quraysh. So alayhi salatu wasalam puts his hands up. And the Sahaba at that moment realized the horrible mistake they have made of asking him something like that. Because that's not really what they want. Even in their own hearts, that's not what they wanted. But they'd forgotten who had taught them to be like that. Why were they like that? Why were the Sahaba able to love their enemy, or still hope that their enemy would change their minds and come to Islam? It's him alayhi salatu wasalam and his patience. فَقَالَ اللَّهُمَّ اهْدِ قَوْمِي فَإِنَّهُمْ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ اللَّهُمَّ اغْفِرْ لِقَوْمِي فَإِنَّهُم لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. Allah, guide or forgive my people, for they do not know what the mistakes that they are making. There was a man, a Jewish fellow in Medina, who had read about the prophet of the end of times. And he came looking at the Prophet ﷺ, searching for all these pointers or attributes that he saw in the book. And he found the check marks for all the stuff he was looking for, except one. He couldn't find it. So he came to the Prophet ﷺ and he said, Ya Abul Qasim, بلغني أنكم تحتاجون إلى المال. I was made aware that you're in need of fluid, of cash. فوإني رجل قد أنعم الله علي, and I have a lot of it. فإذا أردت أقرضتك. If you want, I can lend you and the Muslims money. So the Prophet ﷺ was very happy with that, because this was the reality. They didn't have a lot of money. So the Prophet ﷺ brought shuhud, witnesses, and they took the loan and they signed the contract. And the agreement was that he would pay him back in a year. So this man goes, 3 days later, he comes back to the Prophet ﷺ, and he begins saying something like, هل أعدت إلي مالي? When are you going to give me back my money? أقرضك ثم تأكل علي المال. I give you money and then you take it and you refuse to return it. So the Prophet ﷺ would come to the man, فقال اتفقنا على عام. We agreed to a year. And this man continues to aggravate the Prophet ﷺ, saying rude things. And he becomes ruder and ruder and more disrespectful as he's speaking. So I'm not going to use the words. He starts to say things that are very disrespectful towards the Prophet ﷺ, towards the Sahaba, towards Islam itself. And the Prophet ﷺ is sitting there trying to explain to him, to calm him down. We agreed for a year. I will pay you back. If you're in need of the money, we'll get it for you a bit earlier. And this man is getting more and more rude, to the point where the thermometer of anger, Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, he was losing his cap, and he couldn't handle it anymore. فقال يا رسول الله هلا أمرتني فضربت عنقه. How about you just let me know, let me end this. This man has no respect whatsoever. There are witnesses. فقال يا عمر هلا أمرته بحسن الطلب وأمرتني بحسن السداد أما كان ذلك خيرا. Wouldn't it be better, Ya Umar, than asking me to do something like that, is to ask him to ask for his money in a more respectful way, and tell me to be a better to be someone who returns the money at a better time, بحسن السداد, that I remember to give him his money back at a better time. So this man, as the Prophet ﷺ is speaking to Umar, this man says, أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أنك عبده ورسوله. So they turn to him, what have you been doing for the last hour? فقال وجدت علاماتك في كتابنا إلا واحد. I saw all the attributes that I need to see except one. And the attribute that they have in their book, أنه كلما ازددت معه إساءة ازداد معه حلما. The more rude you are to him, the more patient he is with you. The more aggravating and provoking and disrespectful you are towards him, the more patient he's going to be in his conduct, عليه الصلاة والسلام. And when I saw that, ولما رأيت ذلك من خلقك عرفت أنك رسول الله. And when I saw that within your behavior, the more I tried to provoke you as much as I could. And I couldn't seem to provoke you. The more I tried, the more patient you ended up becoming. Sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. And that is the concept of al-hilm, or patience. How do we live with this name? Is very simple. I don't even need to talk about that. Show patience. Be patient, whether with your spouse at home or with your children. These days that we are living, you're stuck at home for a long time. You can't really leave that much. Guys sometimes open the door and just walk out, but the poor mothers, they can't. They don't have the luxury of just opening the door and leaving the house and leaving the kids. It's not easy. This is the time within our lives, I believe, to develop patience. Patience is different than perseverance. That's a different attribute that's half of Iman, perseverance. Patience is something a bit different. Remember, Ismullah al-Haleem. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is patient with all of us. Despite all the mistakes that we make, He never punishes us immediately, subhanahu wa ta'ala. He gives us one chance after the other, subhanahu wa ta'ala, to the point where you think, well, is he actually paying attention? Of course He is. يُمْهِلْ وَلَا يُهْمِلْ. He gives time, He doesn't neglect. He just gives time. He's patient, subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that's an attribute that we need to show these days. And inshallah, we can do it. I hope that was beneficial. Subhanak Allahumma wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Inshallah, I will see you at 5:30 today for the Modern Awakening series, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.